Hello, and welcome to the 8th video in my Jedi 101, Your First Step series, where we are reading from my book, Your First Step into a Larger World, an Introduction to Walking the Jedi Path. So I'm recording this on Saturday, March 21st, 2020. And we are in the midst of a global pandemic of the COVID-19 virus. That being said, it's time to concentrate on our training. If you're just starting on the Jedi Path, it's great time to start putting into practice what you have trained for. And if it's not adequate yet, keep training. And so in the interest of keep training, I'm continuing the video series, even in the midst of all the chaos in the world. So without further ado, let's get into Chapter 7, Diplomacy and Form 0. Conflict resolution needs to be a skill set that every Jedi should be familiar with and earnestly trained to master. Just as there are many ways that conflict can arise, so too are there many ways to resolve it. But the first step we must make when we are set to resolve conflict is to ask ourselves, do we negotiate or do we fight? Sometimes fighting seems like the natural choice. It is certainly the easier to choose. What is dangerous is when we make the decision to fight without thinking, allowing emotion to rule our actions, where we react rather than respond. This is not to say fighting does not have its place. There are things that are worth fighting for. However, a Jedi might be selective about their battles. We need to practice mindfulness and be able to see if the path of victory is even possible through the route of conflict. It does not serve us to be guided by our passions when we choose to fight, but rather we need to take a reasoned approach so that when we fight, we do not do so in vain. The art of negotiation is capable of achieving results that fighting cannot. When we fight, this sets up the dynamic of adversary versus adversary. However, if we approach things as a negotiation, then those in conflict are not enemies, but rather negotiation partners, working towards a common goal. If we remove from the equation ideas such as winning and losing, then that opens the pathway for compromise. Compromise is agreement reached by mutual consent and makes it possible to create a situation where no one has to lose. When there is no chance for compromise among negotiating partners, then maybe perhaps we have a fight on our hands. And if it is a fight that cannot be won by either side, we must recognize the standoff and refuse to engage further. Negotiations, even aggressive negotiations, will be a failure when the result is the making of new enemies. There will always be people that disagree with us. Some of these people may even be demonstrably wrong. However, it has been my experience that people will form a strong attachment to the feeling of being right, and will hold on to these attachments, even in the face of overwhelming evidence. They will seek out confirmation and validation rather than seeking out the sometimes difficult truth. Simply pointing out that they are wrong is rarely a successful tactic. Demonstrating they are wrong hardly fares better. The only way for success is to lead them in such a way that they discover the correct conclusion themselves. The obverse to this is that we must remain open to the idea that we ourselves may be mistaken, and may be mistaken about a great many things. Absolute certainty can be blinding. Negotiating in good faith requires the open-mindedness that comes when one is receptive to new knowledge, information, and ideas. Only from this place can we be successful negotiators, employing empathy for our negotiating partners and being able to see things from a different point of view. Conflict is a part of life. It does us no service to run for it or avoid it at all costs. With training, one can enter into conflict and resolve it. It will do a Jedi of quality well to have many tools at their disposal for the resolution of conflict. If one has to fight, fight well and fight with honor. But better still is being able to seek a diplomatic solution where fighting becomes unnecessary. In the mythology, Jedi combat is often done in certain styles or lightsaber forms. They each have a name and a number, such as Form 3 Soresu, and a corresponding philosophy to make each form distinct from another. There are ways to describe how to approach conflict with a lightsaber. While these are based in fiction, there is one form, Form 0, that does not require a weapon at all. In fact, it is Form 0 that is known as the lightsaber form without the use of a lightsaber. It harkens back to a saying that the sharpest swords are kept in their sheaths. And within Form 0 is contained my method for conflict resolution. My Form 0 philosophy is based on my work in Aikido, which is based on nonviolence, non-resistance, and non-injury. We can apply this philosophy in conflict resolution by adopting these attitudes and following these steps when we negotiate. This application of Form 0 is done verbally or in the day of the internet communications, written. Firstly, never go on the attack in your negotiations. This is how we practice nonviolence. Never accuse the other of wrongdoing, even if it is clear they are in the wrong. For certainly they feel justified in their emotions and actions. We do not belittle this or dismiss this. Instead, we present a different view to their position in a non-threatening way in the art of compromise. Secondly, don't spend time constantly defending yourself from accusations that may come your way. In so doing, we practice non-resistance. Accept what truth there is in what they have to say and redirect any falsehoods that they may have. Remember, they are seeing this exchange from their own point of view, and their idea of truth will depend on their point of view. We must, as negotiators, redirect their view to one in accord with our own. We do not do this by simply contradicting the assertions of the entity we are negotiating with, but gently bringing them to our own point of view. Thirdly, remember that negotiation is not a competition. One should not have in their mind that there is winning and a losing side. We do not come to the table with the intent of winning and causing the other party to lose. Nor is winning or losing what is at stake in a negotiation when we do so as a Jedi of quality. The point of negotiation is to come to an accord where all parties walk away from the table satisfied. In a way, if everyone wins, nobody has to lose. In not being attached to our negotiating partner losing, we practice non-injury. Form 0 is not just restricted to verbal actions. Many options may present themselves, perhaps with an action of offering a drink, or just placing yourself in such a way that another cannot cause harm to someone else. The point is not to see others as enemies or adversaries that must be overcome, but fellow feeling, thinking human beings with their own needs and goals that we can help to meet while we meet our own. It is engendering this empathy for those within our sphere of influence that is one step to becoming a Jedi of quality. Okay, so my feelings on this chapter, a few years after I've written it, are very much aligned. And I think it would be good to talk about where I came from, where I learned some of this stuff, because I'll be honest, I used to love to fight, especially online, and I was good at it. Good in a way of saying that I would crush my enemies. You know, I saw the people on the internet I was fighting with as enemies. I would crush them. I would humiliate them. It wasn't very Jedi of me at all. I would belabor points to the ground. So the part where let me find it. So all this stuff about pointing out people being wrong when they're demonstrably wrong, not going well. That bit was learned through experience, because I could prove people were wrong. I could bring the receipts, show that they were completely full of bullshit, and they would still be attached to this idea of being right, of being on the right side, of having the right opinion, of their thinking that their non-truths were real facts. I encountered this a lot. We see this a lot in our current political environment and in what is going on in the world right now, especially in the United States, where we have an administration just that is incapable of telling the truth. And many people believe these lies, this mendacity, and they will hang on to that no matter the evidence. And so just telling someone they're wrong, or even demonstrating it in public, rarely goes well. I've learned this through experience. I've gotten kicked out of Jedi groups for fighting. And so, but I want to hearken, most of the chapters about negotiation. But sometimes we do gotta fight. There are things worth fighting for. And there will be battles that we, as Jedi of quality, will need to fight. Especially in the way that the world is going to change. The world is changing. Right here, right now. We are living in interesting times. And the world we knew is going to go away. And it is up to us, and those aligned with us, to rebuild the world based on compassion, justice, and equanimity. To have the hope to see such a world come into existence on the other side of this. So, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. I hope all this pandemic stuff is an interesting footnote someday if you're watching this. So until then, may the Force guide and protect you all your days. And wash your hands for 20 seconds several times a day.